And going live on Facebook in a few secs. We're probably live right now, but it always says that we're not.
It's all good. I wore my best business attire for today's
I
call
know,
too.
we're all doing the same thing, right? Okay.
Pants on, don't worry.
As long as we don't see anything else, we're good. Okay, so welcome everybody to Let's Talk with Camila. We're live on Facebook, January the 21st. As I mentioned in my last previous messages, I'm so stoked about 2021. And the reason is because I've connected with a bunch of people that are just the epitome of resiliency, that are inspirational. And I know everyone's tired of listening to me give messages, so I thought we'd go live into the world and find people that have actually, practiced, walk the talk, if you will. So today I'm excited to bring on board this gentleman who has had quite the life, quite the experience, and he's going to share more about his story. But what I absolutely love about his story is that on the surface, here's a gentleman who is no different than you and I. You know, he's married, he's got a couple of kids, he's got a full-time job, and you and I would never know where he came from and what his background is, right? And so the story, when I heard it, was just screaming resiliency all over it. So I wanted to bring him on board for you to hear his story, and so that he can share where he came from, where he's at, what he's created, which is phenomenal. So Mr. Mike Kett, I am giving the floor to you. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's wild because I didn't hear the word resiliency or even understand that was even a thing until someone said to me, like, man, you've been through some stuff. You're pretty resilient. And then I also want to preface it with, like, I'm just a regular guy, and I really believe that the things that I've been dealt in my life pale in comparison to so many more people out there that have had to deal with what I say is like real stuff that could really take you out. And so I kind of feel like, am I really a voice for resiliency? Right? Like, I don't feel that way. But then again, we all walk our own path in life, and what I've been through may really speak to someone else. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And it just may be that one simple thing that maybe I could grab someone and pluck their heartstrings and have them right. And just touch in that way. But to me, I'm just an average dude who just dealt with things that were thrown at me. And it's really not that incredible. Right?
Well, but that's the thing, Mike, right? Is it's how we deal with things in life, because life's going to come at us, right? It's going to come at us forwards, backwards, upside down, and it's how we deal with life that determines the outcome. So, for me, I've always been inspired. I've been inspired by how people think. I've been inspired by the results that they create and how they get to where they get to. So tell me, before we get into where a little bit of your past, just tell everybody who you are. Like, what do you do right now? Like, if I was going to roll a videotape into your life, what would I see? What do you do?
You'd see me heading to work every day to take care of my little family. And I'm very lucky that I'm able to be in a position that many folks now, I realize, this is like, I'm very fortunate to work at a major automotive manufacturer in a management capacity where I'm afforded a paycheck that allows me to have a lifestyle that I didn't know that I would maybe have back a few years ago. That's for sure. I go there to take care of this beautiful family that I have. I have 3 wonderful children and a wife that, that is the love of my life. And it's like this beautiful white picket fence life that I feel like I have now. There were many times when, I didn't think that I'd be there because I didn't think that, I don't know, maybe I didn't think I had the qualities to warrant having a family. There were many times when I just didn't think that I'd be a family man. And there were many times when I thought, holy, I don't know if I'm even going to be able to take care of myself,
right,
let alone take care of
someone
a
else.
family.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's the story of where, not even where I came from, because that I was very fortunate where I came from too. Family, mom and dad together, loving household, but just some choices that I made as a young man brought me to a spot in my life where, man, it got kind of dark sometimes, and I could have chosen a path. Like,
Okay, so
we're all
let's backtrack, right? So what were those choices that you made that led you down the wrong road?
It was okay. So psychologically, we all want to be part of something. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be, feel like somebody cares about us. And like, I moved out of my house when I was 15. And I know my parents loved the shit out of me. Right. But I also know that my dad was chasing something that was beyond. He was chasing a career and money, and to me, little young Mike, all I cared about was seeing my parents up in the stands at my sports games, right? So that's what mattered to me. And eventually, I think because of not seeing that happen,
They didn't come to your games?
no, they did. My mom did lots. Like, hey, somebody had to drive me there, right? But dad was like, and I honestly, he's one of my heroes. I look up to him and I still say, like, man, I want to be like this guy. I
think we're a little got some technical difficulties going.
Stuff that he had, how he grew up, that drive for his business success took him out of the stands for my sports games quite often, right? And I knew it at the time. I accepted it. I was like, hey, you know what? Dad's doing this thing. He's getting his family in a better spot. And I thought it was I didn't see anything wrong with that. But still, the kid in me is like looking up in the stands, going, man, I just wish he was here to see that. I just wish he was here to see that happen, right? So here's what I believe happened with me was, eventually, with that lack, I then wanted to find some external source of, you're the man, go get him, Mike, you're the best, right? And that kind of that feeling of belonging. And that took me from the sports world and this kind of pure utopian, cheerleader, prom king. I was never the prom king, but it took me into
close.
It took me into a world of partying, drinking, and drugs. A place where I could be the wildest dude, and people would celebrate that, and I was the man, and that kind of. So I found some a home in being a little more reckless than I was used to. And that was one of the major choices that took me off of, my path to being captain of the team, and that whole, that original, not even my original plan that was laid out by any means, but I chose a darker path and I got something out of it. I was pretty good at what I did. I partied pretty hard, and I made a lot of friends.
Good partier.
Yeah. But anyway, that led me to making really silly decisions after that, which led me to losing friends who should have been real close friends. I gained some other acquaintances, but again, those acquaintances led me to things like jail and loss of jobs and loss of people who really mattered to me. And then eventually, when you lose jobs and make really stupid decisions, you lose employment and then places to live. Right. And I laugh about it. I'm chuckling now because while it was happening, although I was making silly decisions, I had this internal thing about me that always knew that I could survive anything. And it was a little bit of a blessing and a curse at the same time. It was like, it was a curse because it was almost a safety net that I knew whatever dumb decision I made, I knew I could land on my feet and make it again.
So it's almost like you're testing yourself.
It was a blessing because, oh, absolutely. I did. I tested myself with stupid decisions. But through that testing, I realized that I really do have something. I do have a resiliency factor. I am able to figure things out and land on my feet. So once I got past making silly decisions and then realized that life was going to throw obstacles in my place, regardless of whether I was the one who made the decision to bring that obstacle there or not. Now I knew I had something that I could work with. I knew that I had some skills that I could use to overcome real stuff that were coming at me just because life tosses that at you, not just because I made dumb decisions. So silly decisions brought me there, but it ultimately built this resiliency in me that allowed me to get through stuff as well.
Well, so if you ever run into somebody that, let's say, doesn't believe in themselves, maybe they are making the wrong choices, going down, some path that is not going to be a good one, what advice would you give them?
It's tough because you think you know it all. When it's happening, when you're in the throes of making poor decisions because of the life that you're living, I'm just talking to you real. I could come and feed you a bunch of bull crap that you could hear on Dr. Phil, but the way I roll, I'm real and I'm raw. Like, I've lived some of this stuff. I have friends of mine who have lived through obstacles that are so much tougher than anything that I've even ever been exposed to. The real and the rawness is you don't know it when you're going through it. You feel like you know it all. You feel like the people who are sharing their stories and their ideas and their suggestions of how you can get through this, a lot of that doesn't resonate while you're in the throes of it. And it's, man.
So are you saying that we can't give messages that no one's going to hear it?
No, you can, and you have to. You can and you have to. But and so I apologize. It's while I'm saying this, I'm thinking right now to a friend of mine who is in the midst of changing his life. He's in the midst of, getting rid of demons that were in his past that were taking him down past, like, that were going to lead to his grave. And I know that if he was right now beside me talking, he'd say, man, you could have said anything you wanted to me while I was tipping the bottle or while I was doing whatever. You couldn't have touched me. Like, you couldn't have got, but something did get through. And it was the constant reminders. So yes, you can give messages. But it's like,
it takes time. It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen the first time. There's got to be patience. There's got to be, the timing has to be right. I don't want to say the stars have to align, but the truth is, like, things do need to come together. And sometimes it takes that person reaching what is ultimately maybe their bottom of the barrel.
Right.
Maybe to finally realize that, something has to change.
Yeah.
I want to believe that you don't have to, like, be sinking down to the bottom of the barrel before you feel your back touch the end.
But sometimes I want to think that sometimes people really need to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you've done both, right? Like, you've gone down and you're now in a really great space, and you've accomplished some phenomenal results outside of just, your white picket fence life. So maybe you want to share about what are the other projects that you're working on? Because to me, I was totally, moved by Forged by the Fire. So maybe you want to start with that.
And here I am thinking, man, I got to get in and do more of this stuff that I love, and that kind of brings me. So yeah. There's been some mentors in my life that have really changed how I live. I can't get too sappy here, but like I was in a really, as to the outside world and to people who are watching my life, it was almost like Jersey Shore. Like I was living this. It was fun. It would look like a really incredible spot in my life. I was living in a great part of the world. I was on a ski resort. It was like party all the time. It looked like I had my stuff together. The truth was I was dying inside. And my wife came into my life at just that time. She's a real mentor to mine. And I probably don't tell her this enough, but she's like, sound like Jack Nicholson in the movie, but she made me want to be a better man. Right. So that was one incredible thing. I had a martial artist, master of mine who came into my life at just the right time and kind of built another type of resiliency around me that was more about like a masculinity part of me that made me realize that no matter what was thrown at me physically, I can handle it. I can handle myself. That was a real passage in my life that a man sometimes needs to know, is like, do I got what it takes? Can I take care of myself? Business mentors that came into my life at just the right time. You actually mentioned one of their names that started this, Gordon So, and he came into my life about 20 years ago and really taught me what it means to embrace personal development. And find what's
I'm a big proponent of personal development, for sure. But I can tell you that I've met so many people who, oh boy, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I've met so many
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
that don't believe in personal growth. They're not proponents of it. They think that, they're adults and they've arrived and that's life. So if you run into people like that, how do you deal with them? Or what advice?
It's like, my advice is to, well, I mean, when you say you don't believe in personal development, I think we might be talking about two separate things, because I don't think you can not believe in personal development. Like if you believe, like, everyone can develop. It's, do you believe in this positivity hocus pocus that everyone tries to push nowadays, which I got to tell you, I'm going to say things right now that might be a little controversial, but I don't believe in toxic positivity either.
Toxic positivity.
And this brings me back to my, yeah. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. Right. Do you know what? Because guess what? I don't want to, you can't do everything. Everything that you say, you know what? I can do it. I can just, you know what? That's not true. No, you can't. It's just the way that life is. Okay. I'm not trying to bust you, but you can't, there are things that you can become better at. But just because you want to have positive thoughts about something and will it into existence ain't always going to happen. And here's where that really, where the rubber meets the road, is my martial art master said to me, hey, Mike, listen, there are many people at events across the globe that go to these martial arts events and they do this incredible kata where they can show the instructor how incredible their moves are. And they, right? But when they're up in front of someone and they get a fist in the face, everything changes. And you know what? Guess what? Your incredible positivity of how you might have been able to handle that situation goes right down the drain when you don't have the shit to be able to actually handle that situation. So if you don't have the tools and the skills to actually deal with that thing, then your positivity and your belief that you can handle it may see you with a bloody nose at the end of the day. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not trying to crap on you. I'm not trying to crap on people for wanting to be positive, but like, marry that with action, real goals, and real attainment of skills that can then warrant you being positive and confident in a situation.
Yeah, I hear that you're a realist.
I hope you're hearing me for what I'm real. I'm real because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm real because I've been there a few times. And even now, I can go into a meeting at my job place and I can be confident as hell that I'm going to be able to whip this meeting into shape. But if I don't come in there with the documentation, the data, the stuff to back up what I'm positive about, nobody's buying nothing. You need to actually have that stuff. So when you want to strut, you want to do your thing, just make sure you're able to back it up. And it's something that I didn't know my whole life. I strutted without having the stuff for a while. And
what I hear is there's a gap. There's a gap between what you want and where you want to go. And sometimes that gap can be very large. So it just depends on, are you committed to going down that road? And it's not going to happen right away. So you have to decide if, you're going to dedicate your life to filling in that gap. I mean, I believe that we're all born with strengths, right? We all have things that we're really good at. And then there's things that we're not really good at. So, clearly you've been born with a lot of talents. You just didn't use them the right way in the beginning.
You know what? You're probably right about that too.
You went around the block till you figured it out, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then sometimes it was a process to realize that I actually had some of these strengths as well. So I think it was arrogance.
That's what I wanted to ask you is, why didn't you give up? What was that? Like, when you say that process to discover what your strength, describe that process.
As a young alpha male, I wish this conversation would me be speaking to everybody out there and say, hey, this is how you do it. I don't think there's a manual. I really don't. I really think that people out there who are looking to develop themselves, to learn new skills, to become more resilient, to all those things, stop searching for one manual. There is not going to be one manual. There's many paths. You need to maybe latch on to a mentor who's been there, mm-hmm. who's done the thing you're trying to do, or is well on their way to weaving down that path, man, and has had their machete out and been chopping this path. So with me, it was a young alpha male thinking I knew everything and then being ready to test myself at any turn. It was like, bring it on. What do you got? Like, give me some more. I can take it. And that was me. Like, I was so confident in anything I did. But it was also my nemesis. It was like, I'm not studying for this class. I know this. Bring it on. I'm good to go. And then my overconfidence and my ego, luckily I was able to get 70s and 80s in class when I should have probably got 90s if I had have applied myself. But it was that overconfidence that said, you know what, test me, bring it on. So when things when it really went down, like, okay, so I moved out of the house, no problem, test me, let's see if I can do this. It was a challenge to me, and I loved it, and I got through it, and I was like, all right, no problem, done. I did that, boom, I checked it off. You know what? Yeah, I had a cardboard moving box, a wardrobe box as my closet for 2 years. Did it, no problem. You know what I mean? Milk crates were my bed with a little crappy mattress on top of it for a couple. Did it, no problem. That just prepared me for when I went to jail for being an idiot later. And that, right? And then, right? And so these little tests that I was always like, It's like camping. You know what? No problem. I'm homeless. I'm sleeping on a beach for a week because I don't really have a place to live and I had to hitchhike to this crappy job 2 hours away to make some money. So I always treated things as a test that I can make it through. And eventually those tests led to resiliency, that I knew I could do it. And then eventually the silly decisions that I made started to wane. I started to make better decisions. I had things in my life that mattered. The decisions I made didn't just affect me anymore. So when I knew, there's an 80% chance that I can make it through this and I'll be okay. Quickly, once I had folks who depended on me, my wife and children, then I said, you know what, Mike, it's time to make decisions that are smarter, have a higher probability of making it through. But then those resiliency skills allowed me to make sure I knew I'd make it through, and that I knew I'd prosper, and I knew not only would I make it through, but I would excel. So
yeah, and you've excelled in a couple of different areas outside of your primary job.
Well, excelling things. There's things in process, right? So through meeting Gordon So, who I mentioned earlier, he said, Mike, share some of this stuff. Get in front of the camera. We've got this wonderful thing called Facebook Live. We got to get your story out there. And it's an incredible tool. So that's what I started to do was I built this little in persona, not persona, but this tagline, Forged by the Fire. And I started to do some interviews on my podcast called Mind Body Bank Account. And I started to talk with some really great people. And I started to learn from people that are a heck of a lot better than me, folks who have been through similar struggles, folks who have been through way crazier struggles, folks who have done things in business that I look up to, things in life that I, celebrate. And I learned that just getting yourself out there and sharing your story and becoming exposing your ideas and your dreams can bring people into your life that can really help you. So just being in front of the camera then brought folks into my world that then I had access to, because Gordy will talk about influence, access, and income. Right. And so all of a sudden I had access to more people, which then I had some influence over, because we had some similar things. So they saw me as a guy who had been through some stuff, made it to a place, and now had some dreams and goals. And so doors opened up for me that has now led me to some projects that I never thought I would have in my wheelhouse or in my portfolio. And yeah, that's what we got. So little podcast on the go, talking to some really cool people. And now we're raising money for an indoor lettuce farm that I'm part of. Well, I shouldn't say a produce farm. So now I'm fortunate to use some of my skills that I have in my back office, right? That are my manufacturing and management capabilities, and that kind of production, manufacturing, those skills. And I'm able to put those towards being part of a team where we are building out this produce farm that is going to be, so that's awesome.
When is that expected to be up and running?
Last month. Everything is expected to happen yesterday. Listen, it's we honestly, because I'm a realist, we are going to launch in 2021. 2021, we're going to break ground, I hope, within the next 3 months. We're right now securing final financing for the project. Within 3 months, we'll be putting a shovel in the ground, building our facility, and then within 120 days, 120 to 180 days from there, we should have our product to market.
Wow, that's
fresh produce on the forks of individuals through those cool boxes that you get with your meals pre-prepped and ready right to your front door, right? If we could go to restaurants, we'd have them, our products on the shelves of local chefs and smaller grocery operations like the Goodness Me's as well. So that's
awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much. I wanted to, just extend, much gratitude for you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today and share a little bit about your story. And hopefully we've inspired a few people out there to keep going, not give up if they're down in the throes, to just know that, the only place to go is up.
It is true. It is true. There's many times that I felt like there wasn't a place to go, but as long as when you wake up, you're on this side of the dirt, right? It's a good day, and you can continue on. So no matter what life throws at you, just look for someone who's been down the path that you're on, latch onto them, use some of my martial art background. Like I tap into Bruce Lee, where he built a beautiful system out of 7 different arts. So you got to take the things that work for you and extrapolate those and have them put into your own resiliency plan, your own life plan. So whether you follow one person, one mentor, or 7, just, pick out the things that work for you and put them to good use. Never be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to ask questions. Know that you're never going to know it all. And the sooner you realize that you don't know it all, and the sooner you realize that you can put that super masculine ego aside and put your hands up and say, listen, man, I need some help here. I'm not, I don't know this stuff. People want to reach out and they want to help you, and they will. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Mike. Totally appreciate. Hopefully we'll have you back when your lettuce farm is up and running, and maybe you'll share a little bit more about that project.
I'd love to.
Yeah, great. So everyone, thank you for tuning in. Let's talk with Camila.ca if you want to get a hold of me. And we've just spent a little bit of time speaking to Mr. Mike Kett. Again, thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great evening.